Welcome to the Fearless Happiness Podcast, where we showcase phenomenal individuals who have overcome serious traumas, life obstacles, and challenges to find their own path to fearless happiness. Listen as Max Njist invites guests from all around the world to share their experiences and spread strength, hope, and faith. This is the Fearless Happiness Podcast, and this is Max Njist.
All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max again from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. And again, today I have a very special and amazing guest gracing us with his presence. We're going to have a great time today. But what I like to do, Marcel, is have you introduce yourself to my audience, like who you are, what it is you do, and then we are going to rock and roll.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Max. And yes, my name is Marcel Clarke. I'm generational entrepreneur, stock market architect, cryptocurrency investor, and definitely a real estate developer. So I'm a lot of different things, and I really try to bring that all to the table on an ongoing basis. But yeah, I've been doing this entrepreneur world for about 20 years now.
Oh, so you're, as they call you, a serial entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of irons in the fire.
But that's good. I mean, I mean, like most of the entrepreneurs that I know that are like you, very successful and have been in the, the entrepreneur space for a long time, like you all have, like, they don't just have one stream of income, as they say. They have these multiple, like you do, whether it's architecture, whether it's your crypto, whether it's your real estate. They always have something that they're doing, which, because I've said it before on this show, right? Like, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, because if you can't handle it, like, it's gonna, right? Because as you know, and you've went through it, obviously, right? You're gonna fail. You're gonna trip. But you got to get back up and keep going. Correct?
Yeah, entrepreneurs, we're just built differently. It's tripping, falling, failure, everything that comes along with this ride. You just have to be able to not only push through it, but stand back up. So it's how we're built. But I think you actually touched on a really good thing specifically at the moment. Like, the stock market's down 2,000 points today, and that's a reason why you need to have diverse levels of income, right? You can't bank on just that one stream, because then that could put you in a bad situation. So you're right. When days like this come about, I'm really more about, okay, well, I'm glad I have, companies. I'm glad that, I have a real estate development firm that's doing well. So you always, as an entrepreneur, you're leveraging different things, because you kind of get used to the ups and downs. And when you're up, you're happy. But when you're down, you also understand that it's momentary. So yeah, we're just built differently.
Right. And I think a lot of the times, well, like today, I mean, it's all over the news, right? The tariff thing that happened, right? So Trump does his tariff thing. Everybody thinks that we're going to crumble as an economy. So the stock market, but that's kind of like with anybody, right? Like, it goes up and down the market depending on. But anyway, I want to go back to your humble beginnings and like what challenges you went through, like growing up, that you said, well, I heard you say in the beginning, right? Generational entrepreneur. Like, so it's been in your family, it sounds like, for generations, right? Everybody's learning how to, or doing their own thing and creating businesses for their families, for you, your legacy and all that stuff. But what are some of those challenges? Because I read in your bio, you went through some, and you come from an area, well, in my case, in the recovery world, because it's always talked about, right? Like the drug problem in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? And they're showing pictures, which kind of mirrors what San Francisco looked like not too long ago, or still does, right? Where the huge fentanyl problem, right?
Right.
So tell our audience, like, what you have gone through, right? In your past, and the challenges you've had to overcome and face, and to put you where you are today and make you who you are today.
Well, I think a lot of things when it comes to challenges really started to surface in my life once I wrote my book, Hiding in Plain View. That book illustrates a lot of different things that I actually had to endure and push through at a pretty early age. If I gave you a synopsis of the book is pretty much about four teenagers that were raised in a really nice middle class neighborhood. But like most kids, we just became bored and decided to get involved with the underground criminal activity. And unfortunately, I was very successful at it. And during that journey, I lost a lot of friends due to either drug addiction, incarceration, or death. And I just arrived at this point where I was like, I can't do this because of the level of destruction, mentally, physically, to the community, it just became too much. And it was time for me to turn my life around. So I pretty much rose like a phoenix and decided, to wrap up my education and focus on my God-given talents and to give back to the community versus destroy it. And I think from that standpoint, I'm on the other side of the pendulum, right? I was actually a part of the destruction, which wasn't cool. And at the moment, at that age, I was probably in my early 20s. You just don't look at it that way. It's all about money. It's all about becoming, the nice things that drug dealers actually acquire. So it was the focus on my side of the ball was that. And it was only once I lost a friend that was murdered and I watched my friend that was on drugs. He was on back then it was crack cocaine.
Right.
I basically watched him drop. He just died in my arms. It was too much to bear mentally, and I was like, this is tough. The thing about that though is I already knew that I could turn things around if I just made better decisions. See, I that's the thing, right? You do have choices in this world, and I just made a cascade of bad decisions that put me in a lot of different bad spaces. And the moment that I was like, yeah, I'm burnt out on this. I think I was yeah, definitely go buy the book, people. But a piece of it was I found myself in a situation where I was with a group of my friends and we decided to go down to North Carolina to collect some money on a deal that I had nothing to do with. And then I watched my friend shoot this guy for no apparent reason other than this. I guess he thought that that was going to move the guy and make him come up with the cash, which never happened. So here I am on the run as a fugitive from justice because one of the guys that was in the group snitched, told the police everything. And the next thing you know, I'm walking out of my condo and there's 40 police officers surrounding me with guns.
Right.
I had enough. I was like, I remember they put me in the back of that car and I was like, yeah, I started crying. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was my turning point. I was just like, I need to do other things. So, yeah, I mean, I know I just described a lot right there, but yeah, that was like the darkest part of my life, even though it's crazy because I mean, it was probably the most money I had ever seen at the time. I wasn't happy because it wasn't on that side of it's a lot of stress on that side of the ball too. Again, I spent the second half of my life definitely giving back and dealing with underprivileged youth. But again, on that side of the ball, when you are a successful drug dealer, kingpin, it's a lot of stress that comes along with that. It's a totally different world. You're worried about the police coming to lock you up. You're worried about people coming to rob you. You I was smoking weed every single day like it was normal. Like I know it's normal now to people out there. I get it. Like, but back then, drugs, I mean, weed was illegal still. And
Right.
like I'm sitting there puffing and smoking every day. It was just a really foggy world. And it was a lot to push through. But again, in my heart I knew I could push through it. And I think one of the most important things there is when I was a kid, my mom kept me in church. And even though I wasn't in church anymore at that time, I always felt like I had a guide with me. I always felt like somebody was there helping me and protecting me. And I know God was helping me through a lot of that. And when I really, really started to wise up, I started to focus on that too. Like focusing on myself mentally, physically, and spiritually pulled me out of that hole. Once I figured that triangle out, I was like, all right, every time I'm in something, it was never that deep again out of that area. Once I was out of it, I was out of it because it was behind me. And I had graduated with my master's degree, like maybe that same year, all that drama started happening. I was like out. But the fact that I found that triangle and I always go back to that even now, it's definitely helped me become a better person because I think that gives me balance.
Right. And that's great that your mom gave you that foundation, right? Where you, it's kind of like you knew you had an anchor somewhere, right? Because I mean, you know it, I know it. I mean, from being a part of that scene, the drug scene for, I'm almost 22 years sober, but I remember like there was time when, in the beginning where, I was selling to make, enough to do mine. And then when I had like more money than I've ever had before, you kind of get like addicted to that power trip, let's say, right?
Hmm.
And, but little do you realize that is going to suck you. Like you said, like you sleep with one eye open because you're afraid the cops are going to bust your door at any time, or someone's going to be crashing through a window to come steal, well, take all your stuff and steal your, your dope and your money and whatever. And like, there's really no rest. You know what I mean? Like, you could do all the drugs you want, but you're still going to be like, I can't sleep because I'm worried about all these different things that could happen. But luckily, like myself and others I know had a awakening where they were like, this is not working. Right. Thank God. Like you said, I think that guiding angel or God himself or woke you up and said, this is not a good path for you to go down. Right. Because what you talk about, right, is a series of bad decisions that just kind of snowball and you get caught up, like you said, with your friend. And that's why I don't laugh, like, but I understand it, right? Like when I used to watch that show Gangland, right? It's always
Uh,
these ex gang members, right, who are telling on, I mean,
yeah.
you know what I mean? They're
There's
telling
no loyalty in the game. There's
no,
not. You have all these people running around, especially, they want to be tough. Like they're gonna go all the way out. They're gonna ride with you 100%. And then when they see those alphabet boys knock their door down and then they take them up into that dark room, they all crack like little kids and start crying for their mom.
right,
I rarely, maybe 5%. I might not have three names that I remember or I recall, and I would go, yeah, you don't want to mess with that guy. Like you knew he was just in it. He was in the game to be in the game, and you didn't
right.
want to cross that guy. But the majority fold like lawn chairs when they when the police come grab their asses up. So that's the other part, right? That you're talking about. I mean, it's just extremely stressful because you can't really trust anybody.
Right. And you can't, and that's not a successful life if you think about it,
No.
right? Because
Mm-mm.
what kind of success do you gain from that except paranoia, maybe jail sentence, prison sentence, loss, like you said, loss in the drug game, you friends die of overdoses or, I mean, I'm so glad you're here because people need to understand, right? Because as I know, right? Like people watch these shows and Hollywood glamorizes that sometimes and they think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do. Right. Where guys like you and I who've been through it kind of, well, you probably more than me on the one side, right? Me, I was just a user at the end, right? And I just couldn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
But you would tell these kids, right? Like, no, don't go down that road. Let me tell you what you're headed for. And right, you said, like, I can count on my hand maybe three or four people that I knew that I would never just go like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what happened to them, but I would never cross their path again because you just know that there's something ain't right up there. And
Exactly. You just know something is not right with that person, and you do not want them in your life, and you don't want to cross their path. Just let them go their way, and I'm going mine, and never cross their path again.
right. And I love, how you've turned your life around. So now that we know that some of the challenges you went through, like tell the audience, like when you started to turn it around, like what were some of the things you did to make that comeback and to get on the right path? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
because there's going to be a bunch of my audience going, man, I want to hear what this guy has to say. Because, right, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a part of it though is, again, my mom was really cool because my mom was a teacher. So when you're the kid of a teacher, there's some positives and some negatives, but the biggest positive is, and the negative is that teachers don't make any money. Unfortunately, that's sad. So you can't really get everything you want as a kid. But
Right.
at the same time, my mom was always telling me that school was important. Like education was not negotiable. All my aunts, all of them AKAs with advanced degrees. So when I was a kid, like it was mandatory. So even though I was doing a lot of negative things, I was still going to school at nighttime. Picture that, right? Drug dealer at daytime, college kid at nighttime. Like my life was wild.
The
But
educated drug dealer. I love it.
yeah, like how do you deal with both, right? So, I mean, fortunately for me, when everything went down and I really put my mind to it, I was able to wrap up school. So that's always been a really good underpinning. And I'm like, I always tell people, no, you don't have to get an advanced degree specifically these days. There's so many trades and skills that can pay you a lot of money. But I think that's the first anchor, like some level of solid skill and income, so you won't be susceptible to, going back into that lifestyle. Because again, even when I graduated, I remember when I graduated from school, I started to say, okay, let me find me a 9 to 5. I found me a nice little administrative job, and I was working this building, and it was cool. I was quality improvement something, and I was taking care of these kids on different levels, teaching them life skills. And I remember receiving my first check, and it was $1,200, and I was like, "What am I gonna do with this?"
Right. You're like, what am I
It's
supposed to
like
do?
two
Right.
for 2 weeks worth of work. You just gave me that's $600 a week. I was making $600 a minute.
Right.
So but my point here to people is at least I had something, right? I was like, so for me at that moment, that was like bottom of the barrel cash. Like, what am I going to do with this? But my point there is at least I had some cash. So that started to turn around. I have an honest check here. All right. How do I make this work? So again, education is some level of skill set to help you sustain so you're not always working some bullshit mediocre job. So I think that was like the kind of the cornerstone of me rebuilding my life, because once I was able to do that, then I started really leaning on my God-given skill set, right? So I was always a big communicator, and business, like we started out with, was in my family. So I kind of knew which way to go. And I think everybody has that around them if you really look. If you look back on your family tree, closer people to you, parents, what they're good at, you're most likely good at it too, because it's in your bloodline, in your DNA. You have to lean into that. So
Right.
again, I love mechanics, right? Because I can't do that. If I watch a mechanic do something, I'm like, there's no way I could put together a car. But people, yeah, but people act like, okay, like that's not a great job. That's an excellent job because only you can do it. And
Right.
it's like you're good at it. So you should focus on that, right? I think a lot of times when people don't focus on what they do best, that's another reason why they might have struggles. I don't care how much money it's supposed to make you. If you're really good at it, you can make money. So that's what I did, right? I was like, I'm really good at talking, communicating. All right, business is in my background. Let me start leaning into that. And then that's when I bought my first franchise. I was like, okay, I had been squirreling away those $1,200 checks for like 5 years. I finally had met somebody that was really cool, very smart person, and she had a great career combined, right? So again, that's a key thing I tell people too. Like relationships matter, but it has to be the right relationship, right? Like I don't connect myself with people that's going to pull me down, right?
Right.
I'm gonna add to you, and I need you to add to me. I think that's just a basic equation. And I think if you focus on that and you make that your standard, like, yeah, I need to meet somebody, but this person definitely needs to do, they need to be on my same level. So it's no conflict, we're adding. And that's what happened when I met her. We added to each other. So yeah,
Right.
it started pulling me out. You see how I'm going up levels now? Because I'm marrying well. I have some cash in my pocket. Now here I go buy my first franchise. That was kind of like the crux of the turnaround. Again, that whole combination I just described for me. And after that, I was off to the races because once I owned my first franchise, I actually started to understand what business is, right? Like franchises, they're not guaranteeing you a win, but what they do give you is a great system. And they'll go, here's how you make money. Now, can you execute? Luckily, I was fortunate enough to be able to execute, but that basically turned on a whole nother switch because that's what I'm trying to explain to people. Once I figured it out and I really do love it and I loved business, that was it. And I think when you tap into what your superpower is, then that's going to help you propel because it's not even like going to work. It's just like you're getting up doing exactly what you want to do in life. And I get everybody doesn't get that all the time. So yeah, you should get a part-time job while you're working on your dream. But like work on your dream because I'm telling you that can that's gonna give you long-term happiness because you're doing something you really do love, right? I've come, of course I have friends, I know people that just wake up and they hate work. Like I mean, it is
Right.
what it is, right? You have to earn a paycheck. I mean, you have to you have to get paid. But my point there is, if you kind of try to start gravitating towards things you really, really want to do, you'll be surprised. I mean, you're gonna put 1,000% into it because it's something you really want to do. And then that was it. Like once I figured that equation out, it's just been off to the races. So I bought a franchise. It was very successful. I sold it. Then I bought a commercial. No, then I created my own commercial cleaning company because I knew from my background in franchising now with the residential service, it was a residential cleaning service when I first purchased. But once I purchased that business, grew it, and sold it, I knew exactly what it took to not only own the business, but then I was like, okay, that was residential, but I want to do a commercial cleaning company. And once I created that from scratch, that went to like 2.5 million in like 3 years. And it was after that, I just used that money to feed my dreams. So I always wanted to build things. So that's when I started my real estate development company. And I was always infatuated with the stock market. So even today, I'm used to the ups and downs. But yeah, just understanding how to make your money work for itself. And again, as you guys can see now, it just started to snowball, and I'm really thankful for that. But again, I'm always humble because of what I described at first, right? I've been in some very, very bad situations, period. And I don't think anything should be taken for granted because I'm fortunate to be here. I put myself, my safety, a lot of things at risk for no apparent reason other than chasing money. And
Right.
that can't be an end all.
Right. And that's important that you say that, right? And I'm glad that you shared that part because I'm sure you don't dwell on it, but thinking about where you could have gone, or because we may not have this conversation if things went south for you and one of those deals gone bad, right? Or something,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And I like what you said, right? Because I talk about it with a lot of my guests, right, who are very successful like yourself, and they say, and sure you've heard that saying, right? Like, so you're the direct result of the five people you hang out with most, right?
Period.
So if I'm hanging out with drug dealers, I'm going to be the sixth, or drug
Yep.
addict, I'm going to be the sixth, which that happened to me once, and I'm never letting that happen again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to be successful in business, then I need to hang around that people are successful in business, and the ones like you said that are not just gonna, like, who are you, but they're the way they're gonna help me level up so that I can help the next person, right? It's almost like it's kind of like my recovery, Marcel, right? It's like there's a saying in AA that goes, you have to give away what was so freely given to you in order, basically, I'm paraphrasing, to stay sober, right? And that's why I have over 21 years. When I got that concept, it was like, oh, I got to show someone else how I stayed sober, who taught me, and then teach what was taught to me, right?
Yep.
And and then finding what you love. Like, I love being a substance abuse counselor, right? I love this podcast, right? So I don't ever get up going like today. I was looking forward to this because I've read over our your bio in before all this pre stuff, and right, I didn't wake up going, oh my god, I gotta interview Marcel, and you know what I mean? Like, you would tell, like, you'd get on and go, this guy don't even want to be here, right? Or I don't ever meet with a client. I've never had a report back that said, man, your clients know that you don't even want to be there, you know.
Yep. See, it's a big deal.
And but you're correct with anything. It doesn't have to be like, I know guys that love being mechanics because they love working with their hands. And at the end of it, they've put together this work of art, if you know what I mean. Like, if you see, like, because I know there's like this car show that they have every year down the street from my house, and some of the hot rods and classic cars, right? I see how they show on the car the before picture and then the after, and like, man, that guy, he goes, yeah, that's some blood, sweat, and tears. But you see the big smile on their face. It wasn't like I didn't hate doing it. And that will lead me to ask you to, right? So, what was I going to say? How do I put this? right? When you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? And it looks like if you saw him, everybody, he's smiling. We're having this great conversation. It's not like he's over here going like, oh, my stuff, right? But right, I think you're right about the education part, right? Like I've had some entrepreneurs here very successful that go, you don't need college, right? But basically, it's what you said though. It's that drive. If you find that superpower that God gave you and you run with it, you can make money, right? And for me, it's like my private practice. I want to build that and and help people find their way to stay sober. Not necessarily the way it's done in addiction treatment centers or you know what I mean, but like
Right.
let them find their way so that once they find it, like you say, they're like, yo, I love it. I'm going to stay sober now. Now I'm going to help the next guy and do, so on and so forth. But like it's hard sometimes, I think, where people like myself that are new to the entrepreneur game, right? And I told you, like they said, that's not for the faint of heart. And like some days I'm like, man, Marcel, let me tell you, there's days that like, yeah, I'm like that Rocky. Like I've been getting hit, right? Or Mike Tyson's famous thing. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And then one of those
There you
moments.
go.
But like you, I've learned it's a learning lesson at those times. And if I can pay attention, right, is what you're telling us, learn from those mistakes and keep going and find that whatever. So how can someone, like, if they wanted to reach out to you, like for instance, someone new says, hey, I've read your book, Marcel. I really love your story. Like, can you, if someone came up to you and say, could you teach me to do the same thing, or at least help me find my way out of the bad situation into the new, what would you tell them? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think a lot of times now, specifically in this environment we're in, I think a lot of people are always looking around for help, which I definitely understand. My perspective is it starts with you. You really have to make up your mind and commit to whatever it is. And that definitely applies to being sober, right? Because again, when I was in that world, that's another thing I would do. I was drinking all of the time. I did not even know I had a problem until I quit my second DUI. So don't think this is somebody preaching to you, because I've been there too. But every single time with all of those situations, when I first started with myself, like no excuses. I think a lot of people just make excuses like, yo, my dad was fucked up or my mom was effed up. And I get it. But we all been dealt bad hands, right? I'm not trying to, and I'm giving it to you raw. We all have been dealt bad hands. So, like, the majority of the people outside of your family don't even really care about that because they have their own problems.
Right.
So
Exactly.
like people expect you that they want to talk to you and be like, oh, this is my problem. You think everybody's gonna feel sorry for you. They really don't, because again, they're carrying their own burdens. So my point here is start with yourself. Like the moment I committed to stop drinking like a crazy dude, it was the moment I started turning that around. And I'm not saying I just went dry and then stopped drinking. No. But I was like, yeah, I'm only gonna drink on the weekends now.
Right.
The weekdays are going to be for business.
Right.
So I think that we all have that mental power. And trust me, like I said, I understand addiction. I do. But I like what you said, Max. Like you want to start your own organization and you want to do it differently, because now you've seen some things and you're like, yeah, I get that. But I think if you let people find their own way, that's even more empowering. That's my point. Like when I came to the conclusion first, me. Nobody else gonna help me out of this hole but me. And I like, Marcel, yeah, you drink too much, bro. Like, what you gonna do? Because as long as you can reach out as long as you want, but you can sit in many AA meetings as you want. Cause I sat in like 10 of them. But until I went, yeah, this ain't the life I want. That's the only way I turned it around. I decided that I don't want that path anymore. I didn't want to disappoint people anymore. I didn't want drunk fights anymore. I didn't want to wake up and couldn't remember the what happened the day before, what happened that night. Like that's not the way I want to live. So that's my point. Like that's the starting point for any person that talks to me. I'm like, when you're around me, and that's how I am as a CEO and a boss, right? Like somebody comes into my office, any manager, when the manager comes into my office, one time I had a manager come in and she gave me all these things, all these things are going wrong. And I let her finish and I was like, Karen, I'm hiring you for solutions. I'm not hiring you to walk into my office and tell me all your problems. When you walk to my office, I need you to tell me how you're going to fix it, right? That's how I am now. It's like I don't want to hear any excuses. I want you to tell me how are you going to move forward? Because the problem is the problem, right? How are you moving forward? I think that's the powerful point when you're trying to kind of like turn a corner and get out of a situation. Take that initial internal responsibility and say, no, I'm doing this to myself.
Right.
Nobody's doing this to me. None of the messed up parents and none of the messed up brothers and sisters or the bad boss. They're not making me drink when I get off work.
Right. They're not holding a gun to your head and saying, "Hey, take a drink," or do
Nah. So
right.
that's just you making an excuse to do it.
Right.
But when you own it and you like, no, I'm an alcoholic and I did it and I'm doing it to myself, to me, that's like the starting point for a turnaround.
Absolutely. Right. And I love that you said that. Right. And this is not a plug for any 12-step program, but
Nope.
if you listen to what he said, the first step was him admitting he had a problem. That was the first thing he had to do. And even in the 12-step program, the only step you have to do perfect is that first step.
Yep.
If you got a problem. And I like to say and heard many times is that my life was unmanageable by me.
Yep.
It's okay. So asking for help is a sign of strength or courage in my book, right?
It absolutely is. And you crushed it earlier. And then I'm not going to be hanging around five of my drunk friends. like, like that's got to stop. I'm going now. I'm going to find me a circle of people that love to be sober and love to ski or climb mountains or do something else
right.
versus that bad habit that I had. Right. And it's what you said. One of my favorite comments, one of my favorite quotes is, "You hang around 9 broke people, you're bound to be the 10th one." Right. So that's the thing, like understanding your circle, because trust me, misery does love company. So your little drinking buddy do not want to see you get sober. Because now you're gone and he's like, what am I going to do with my Fridays? Well, bro, I gotta do me, you know?
And that's what you could say, like to change your life around, go, well, if you want to do what I'm going to do, you could follow me, but I'm not
There
doing
you go.
anymore. You
Come
know,
along for the ride, man. But I'm not gonna sit here on the porch getting drunk with you every Friday anymore. I'm just not doing that.
right? And life's too short now
It is.
I mean, I don't morbidly like think about my past, but I think about the years I wasted in addiction and just go, wow, like I could have. But also, I look at it as God put me through that or allowed me to go through that to learn certain things so that I could be here with Marcel today and have this wonderful conversation about life, about business, about overcoming challenges and being resilient as a human being, right? Because I know, like you, and I found this out later, right? Like on my dad's side of the family, my dad was, when it came to math, very smart. I've got relative like my brother, whose name is same name as you, right? Got 2 master's degrees. Our grandmother, who I never met, I found out had a PhD. I forget if it was in education or what, but she was like 4 foot nothing, but tough as nails and
Love it.
smart, right? To match the toughness. And like I heard you did not backtalk that lady. But education, from what I hear on my dad's side, is very important, right? And I got family members, like I have a cousin in Australia, from what I hear, he like went through a really severe depression, right? When he got better, he went back to school and became a psychiatrist. Now he helps others, right? And
like again, educating yourself on whatever level you decide to educate yourself on matters. When I had to take risk, I always said in the back of my mind, well, if this fails, I could at least go get a job, right? Like that was literally what I would think sometimes. So it matters because just like any building that we put up, the foundation is everything. It takes them the longest time to build the foundation. The rest of the building goes up pretty quickly, but putting in the cement, making sure that they put the foundation in correctly, it matters. And specifically when you're trying to change your life and turn it around, you have to do something different. Like you find yourself in a hole. What's the first thing you do? You stop digging.
Yeah, you stop
right?
digging.
You stop digging. So
ask for a rope or somebody give you a hand out.
Yeah, it's this time to do something different when your life isn't going in a direction and you find yourself in darkness and in a bad place. Yeah, you just have to really take that responsibility and you just have to do some tangible different things. Like different.
Right.
You can't go down that same road that you've been going down every single day. You have to change it up. If you want change, you want a different life, then you literally have to make material changes. You can't just talk about it.
Right. Well, it's like that saying goes, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Over and over again.
Results, right? So,
Right.
like you and I, we can't go back into that lifestyle, do what we're doing, and expect to be right, healthy,
Right.
happy, and like nothing's gonna hurt us, right? Because we're putting ourselves in harm's way again. And I love what you say about the foundation, right? With anything, whether it's education or anything, you have to have the strong foundation, right? Because we all know like a house built on sand is going to crumble, right?
Crumble.
And I think about like when I have guests like yourselves that really make me think about the direction of my life, right? And that, like I always say, everybody never stop learning. If you're never too old to continue learning, because I learn with every guest something new every time, right? And but at the same time, like some of most of you, 99.9% of you, right, teach the same thing, and it's commitment, right? Make a decision and something that's going to help you, not harm you, and give your all to it. And if it doesn't work, learn from it and find out what does, right? Then you move on.
There you go.
Right. But you don't try something for a day and then go, oh, that didn't work. Marcel doesn't know what he's talking about. I said, no, you didn't listen to Marcel. He said, you got to make sure you figure it out and make it work. And then if it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that word commitment matters. Like nothing magically happens overnight.
No.
It takes a sustained focus, and again, you made a decision now. Now you have to commit to making it happen at all cost.
Right.
And that's the difference.
Right. And I like what you said, though, like being the CEO, right? Like you don't mind if people come in and tell you their problems, but I guarantee you know that they better follow it up. Well, here's the solution to that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not paying you to tell me the problem. Like what? You're a manager. Like what? I'm not paying you to tell me about the problem. I'm paying you to resolve the issue, right?
Right.
But again, that's what I mean when I was saying about people, people like to vent. I get that. At the same time, it's what you touched on. Listen, we don't have enough time on this planet to sit here and just do the same thing over and over again. Because that's the one thing. Even God willing, I wouldn't want to look back and have regrets on major things that I wish I had done. That's not how you want to close this thing out. You want to close it out on, yeah, I tried my best, and this is the outcome, and be able to live with it.
Yeah, because like I have come to understand, right, as I turned 57 this year, like I don't want to have any regrets either, right? So when it comes to this podcast, when it comes to my life, my marriage, anything, right, I'm going to give my best so that when that day comes and the good Lord, I always like, because I heard it from my mentors, right? God's always willing. We have to be willing to do whatever, right? But I know when that day comes, I'm going to be able to look back on my life and go, you know what? I gave my all. Yes, I had those mistakes. I made up for them. But at the end, my grandkids, my great grandkids, my children, everybody's going to go, you know what? Opa, which is, German and Dutch for grandpa, was a stand-up guy. He said what he meant. He meant what he said. And he did what he said he was going to do when he said he was going to do it. And he loved us all. And that's the best legacy that, right. And my friends, like, hopefully one day, Marcel would be down the street. I had this cool conversation with Max on his podcast, right? Like that guy. And that's because I want us to bring, like you said, solution to the world, right? Yes, we can talk about our challenges. But as you notice, I ask in the beginning, right? Because I want from them forward to be about your successes, how you overcame them, what you do today to stay on that path of success. And you said it. I hope you guys are paying attention, right? He gives back to his community. He gives back to the youth. He's making up for those days back then, still today. I mean,
always.
He doesn't give up and say, I already did my dues. I don't have to do that again. You're a lot like, I have to say we're a lot alike, right? We're always going to try to give back till that last breath, right? Because that's what I think my thought is. God, whatever you believe in, for us, I believe it's God, right? Pulled us out of that for a reason. He allowed us to do that to say, that's not a good life, but here's what, if you do this, I'm going to make your life great, right? And you get to do that. And I'm sure you got so many people that look up to you and come to you for advice and all that stuff. But that's, I think, is the price of success, right? Because that's another way for you to give back. Don't you think?
Yeah, I like what you said about, first of all, the 100%. Like, that's my thing. I'm giving everything 100% that I do, so I can rest in peace, knowing I gave it everything. Because I'm life is full of failures too, people. Everybody that's going through something, right? We all go through it. Failure is failure. At the same time, I'm cool failing if I gave it 100%. That's why I go all out, right? Like I'm okay, because then my mindset is it wasn't meant for me. That's the way I look at it. Number two, yeah, Max, you're just right. Like I'm always in this mindset of how can I make sure that I'm just helping the next generation move forward? How can I positively contribute to that next young person that basically is going through something, but they have a talent and they just need to tap into it? That's exactly why, I do what I do. I mentor. I wrote this book. It's because I want people to see that, yeah, I was this, but then now look at me now. And it wasn't anything other than my determination not to be that person that I used to be. And that's the thing, that for those that have been listening from the beginning, that whole world, when it was time for me to go, I burnt it all down. I made sure that I couldn't look back, because that's the other part that I think is important. Like, yeah, I know we all go through things, but you're doing yourself a disservice by always looking back. Always, oh, this happened to me and that happened to me, and maybe my life would be different. No, your life is what it is because it's supposed to be what it is at this moment. How
Right.
you deal with it moving forward should be your question. Because what's in
Right.
the past is in the past. We can't do anything about that.
Right.
And I think that's a powerful position when you just go, yeah, all right, I made my mistakes. It is what it is. But what am I doing? What's gonna happen tomorrow? Because like we said, time is not waiting. Time is not feeling sorry for you because you made some mistakes in the past. Find me one person on this planet that hasn't made a mistake. Just show me that person. That's all that help me out. So since we already know that everybody makes mistakes and we all drop the ball and we've all lost, then okay. All right. But again, if you focus on what's ahead of you, then you'll look back one day when you do decide, when I do glance back and I go, damn, I've come a long ass way.
Right. Exactly. And it's okay to look back when you're helping someone to say, look, this is where I came from, but you don't stay there. Right.
Yeah. Now you
Right.
can't live there. You
And
can't.
I'm putting you up there with a lot of the guys that I respect, read their books or look up to, right? Like the Andy Frisellas of the world. And I don't know if you know who he is, but he owns First Form Company, right? But
Yeah.
he talks about like his first 10 years of business, he made like $50,000. That was
Mm-hmm.
it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and he's one like you that talks about, he doesn't think about that. He just finds a way to keep moving forward and to learn what he had to learn, improve on it, and keep getting better. And like you and him, like now look at you guys, right? Like I get to have Marcel on my podcast who's sharing these nuggets, everybody, if you're paying attention, right? Is take a look at your past for a second. And how I like to put it is so I don't repeat that same mistake, right? Because one of those things that always haunts me, right? When you remember Jim Jones, right?
Uh-huh.
Right. That sign that said, for those who do not remember the past are doomed to relive it. Right.
To live it. Yep.
Right. So if you forget where you came from, let's say, it doesn't mean you dwell on it. Right. You may end up back there because, you might get hooked back into this. Oh, it's going to be there. It's like an addict, everybody, or alcoholic, right? Oh, this drink's going to be, I'm only going to drink beer instead of whiskey today. Right. And we all know that doesn't work. Right.
Yeah.
But, if I can leave one thing for the audience, when my time is over, is that I brought enough of Marcel's to the podcast to help teach them something positive and how to be successful in their own lives, whatever that looks like for them, right? It could be someone who likes to be a landscaper, right? But if they love it and they get up every morning because it, like you said, something they love to do, to me, that's success, right?
Yep.
And so I'm going to start asking you some of the questions I love to ask, right? Like you've answered them before, but I want you so my audience can hear. So as you know, I wrote a book and it's the same name as my podcast. it's fearless. What does fearless mean to you today, Marcel? And how does that show up in your life on a daily basis?
Fearless to me is my willingness to not only take risk, but also understand that, yeah, no matter what happens in the situation, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. No matter what it is, no matter how it turns out, I'm still gonna come at you because I'm going to be okay. And in a 12 round fight, I'm still gonna be standing 12 rounds, no matter what, win or lose. I'm going in that ring and I'm gonna give it everything I have, and I'll still be standing, no matter what.
I love it. So happiness, right? You see, I put a Y in it.
Uh,
Put a Y in there for a reason. But what is happiness? Knowing I put that Y in there, what does happiness mean to you, and how does that show up in your life on a daily basis?
oh, happiness is my family. Yeah, watching my kids grow up and everything that they're becoming and all of the things and challenges we face as parents. You think they're not listening, but they really are listening.
Oh
And
yeah,
watching them and that level of this family and trust and all of us, you could just be who you are in that space. To me, it's the best thing on the planet. Like it's just nobody loves you more than your family, and they make me smile. So I'm always happy when I think about just family in general because they're the most valuable thing to me.
absolutely right. And how? What better than coming home to your kids, right? And they're waiting for daddy to get home, and you get the hugs, and hey, you know what I mean? They
Yeah, just the whole scenario when as they're growing up. It's a beautiful thing.
exactly. And I get to do that with grandkids, and I love it. It spoil my grandkids. Well, I got 11 and 12 coming in June, so I'm going to be a grandfather of 12 here pretty soon. But
Wow, that's a beautiful life over there, man.
yeah, you know what I mean? And I think that is a total gift that God has given me, even for all the stuff I put my family through, right? But I've made better decisions, as you would say, and changed my life around so that I can give them all a better life, my kids, my grandkids, my wife, and everything, and be here with you, right? So I love it, man. This has been a great time, Marcel. I knew it would be. Um, but if my audience wants to get a hold of you, they want to get your book, they want to reach out to ask you questions, how do they get a hold of you?
Okay, yeah. I mean, Hiding in Plain View by Marcel Clarke is on Amazon.com. It's everywhere. It's in every format, ebook. If you're an audio book person, it's an audio book. So again, Hiding in Plain View by Marcel Clarke. You won't be able to miss that. And if you're looking for me and you want to know more about me, the best place to find me is Marcel, Marcel, Clarke, CLARKE.co. So I didn't get the .com. My people couldn't pull that one off, but marcelclarke.co, that'll take you to everything that, relating to me.
I love it. I love it, man. It's been a great time, man. We could probably sit here for hours, right? Thinking of all this.
Anytime. Yeah, that would be easy, Max, because you're a really cool guy. So I
Uh,
appreciate you having me on the show. And like you said, I hope we touch some people with this podcast and everybody out there. Just remember, you can always move forward. This stay focused, believe in yourself, and just keep pushing hard. And one day you'll find yourself in a great space.
love it, right? See, everybody, look at that. He even to the end, but you're not quite off the hook just yet, Marcel. Now I get to ask you my favorite question I ask of all my guests. And it
Okay.
goes like this, and I think you'll like it. What is the one piece of advice, Marcel, you could give my audience to help them grow as human beings and become better people?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the most important thing that you can do to grow is to tap into the positive people in your circle. Like, there are a lot of people that see the good things in you and believe in you. I think you should tap into them first. A lot of people see things in us that we don't even see in ourselves. So really placing yourself in the right spaces around the right people is the best thing you could do to grow. Because now, specifically now, you don't you can find you as again whatever your thing is. If it's a mechanic, you can find yourself in a meetup with mechanics, and you'll be surprised at all the beautiful personalities you're gonna find and people that are like-minded. There you go. Find like-minded people that really want to do good things and positive things in this world, And I promise you, you're going to find yourself looking back one day and going, yes, my circle is strong. I'm growing. I'm going in the right direction.
I love it, man. Like I said, you heard him, everybody. It's been a great time. Pay attention to that last part, right? Like-minded people. That's how you're going to grow. And people also, and he would tell you the same thing, that are going to push you to be better and to grow forward. But Marcel, this has been a great time. Thank you for being here. And you heard him, everybody. If Marcel made you think, if Marcel taught you something, if Marcel put a smile on your face, and my famous, if Marcel made you go, I like that. Please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review so more people can find the podcast. And again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. Until next time.
Are you tired of being weighed down by life's traumas and struggles? Join the Fearless Happiness lifestyle and let us guide you toward a brighter future. Explore our past podcast episodes and get a copy of the Fearless Happiness book to ignite your inner strength. If you or someone you love is battling addiction or facing challenges related to unresolved trauma, know that we are here for you. Visit maxnijst.org, maxnijst.org, and take the first steps toward finding your fearless happiness. Thank you for listening. This has been a production of Fearless Happiness.